China just discovered $80 trillion worth of the world's rarest metal. $80 trillion. That's more than 3 times the entire US GDP. And it's not gold. It's not lithium. It's a metal so critical that every single smartphone, electric vehicle, wind turbine, and military jet on Earth cannot function without it. And here's the part that should terrify every Western policymaker. 95% of the global supply was already controlled by China before this discovery. Now they've found a deposit so massive it rewrites the entire geopolitical map of the 21st century. The metal is called dysprosium. And if you've never heard of it, you're about to understand why America is quietly panicking behind closed doors. Dysprosium is one of 17 rare earth elements buried in the periodic table between atomic numbers 57 and 71. Elements most people have never heard of with names like neodymium, praseodymium, terbium. But here's what makes dysprosium different. It's the single most heat-resistant magnetic material known to science. Without it, the permanent magnets inside electric motors fail at high temperatures. Without it, wind turbines lose efficiency. Without it, military guidance systems stop working. And without it, the entire green energy transition grinds to a halt. The global market for dysprosium is currently valued at $1.2 billion annually. That sounds small until you realize it's a bottleneck material. You don't need tons of it. You need just enough. And if you don't have it, nothing else matters. Every Tesla, every F-35 fighter jet, every offshore wind farm is held hostage by access to this one element. Hit that like button and subscribe right now, because by the end of this video you're going to understand exactly how one metal discovery just shifted the balance of power between the world's 2 largest economies. But here's what almost nobody is talking about. This discovery wasn't an accident. It wasn't a lucky geological survey. It was the final piece of a 30-year strategy that started in a conference room in Beijing in 1992, when a Chinese leader said 7 words that would change everything. The Middle East has oil. China has rare earths. The discovery. In July 2024, Chinese state geologists announced the discovery of a massive rare earth deposit in the Fujian province. Initial surveys estimated 1.8 million metric tons of rare earth oxides. That's already significant. But when the breakdown came back, the numbers stopped making sense. Typical rare earth deposits contain about 0.02% dysprosium by weight. This deposit, 0.36%, 18 times the normal concentration. Run the math, and you're looking at approximately 6,500 metric tons of recoverable dysprosium. Current global production is 1,200 tons per year. This single deposit contains a 5-year global supply. But here's where it gets bigger. The deposit sits in a geological formation that extends across 3 provinces. If the concentration holds across the full formation, and early drilling suggests it does, you're looking at a reserve base of over 40,000 metric tons. At current market prices of roughly $2,000 per kilogram, that's $80 billion in dysprosium alone. Add in the neodymium, praseodymium, and terbium in the same deposit, and the total value crosses $80 trillion over the life of the mine. Why this metal matters? Let me show you what dysprosium actually does. Inside an electric vehicle motor, permanent magnets generate the magnetic field that turns electrical energy into mechanical motion. Those magnets are made from neodymium iron boron alloys. At room temperature, they work perfectly, but electric motors generate heat. A lot of heat. Above 100 degrees Celsius, standard neodymium magnets start to lose their magnetic strength. The motor becomes less efficient. Range drops. Performance suffers. Add 6 to 8% dysprosium to the alloy, and the magnet's operating temperature jumps to 200 degrees Celsius. The motor stays efficient. The vehicle performs. That 6 to 8% addition is non-negotiable for high-performance EVs. Tesla uses it. BYD uses it. Every major automaker uses it. And there is no substitute. The same logic applies to wind turbines. A single 3-megawatt offshore wind turbine contains approximately 600 kilograms of rare earth permanent magnets. Dysprosium keeps those magnets stable in the variable thermal conditions of offshore environments. Without it, turbine efficiency drops by 20 to 30%. The entire economics of offshore wind energy depend on that stability. Analogy, the rebar in concrete. Think of dysprosium like rebar in concrete. Concrete is strong under compression, but it cracks under tension. Add steel rebar, and suddenly you can build skyscrapers. The rebar is maybe 2% of the total volume, but without it, the entire structure is impossible. Dysprosium is the rebar of the magnet world, a small addition that makes everything else possible. So China now controls the supply of the single most critical material in the global energy transition. But here's the part that should genuinely worry you. This wasn't luck. This was the end game of a strategy that started 3 decades ago. And to understand what happens next, you need to understand what China did in the 1990s that America is still paying for today. 1992. Deng Xiaoping's 7 words. In 1992, Deng Xiaoping, the architect of China's economic reform, made a statement that would define Chinese industrial policy for the next 30 years. The Middle East has oil. China has rare earths. It wasn't a boast. It was a directive. Rare earths would become a strategic asset, managed at the national level, with the same importance as oil reserves in Saudi Arabia. At the time, China produced about 30% of the world's rare earths. The United States produced 33%. Australia, India, and Brazil made up the rest. The global market was competitive. Prices were stable. Nobody thought much about supply chains. The consolidation begins. Between 1992 and 2010, China did 3 things simultaneously. 1. Environmental arbitrage. Rare earth mining is chemically intensive. Separating rare earth elements from ore requires acids, solvents, and generates toxic waste. Western countries tightened environmental regulations throughout the 1990s. China did not. Chinese rare earth producers could operate at costs Western competitors couldn't match, not because of labor, but because they externalized environmental costs that Western firms were required to internalize. 2. Vertical integration. Chinese state-owned enterprises didn't just mine rare earths. They built the entire downstream supply chain. Separation facilities, refining plants, magnet manufacturing, alloy production. By 2005, if you wanted to buy refined dysprosium, you bought it from China. Not because nobody else had the ore, but because nobody else had built the processing infrastructure. 3. Export quotas. In 2009, China introduced export quotas on rare earth elements. Officially, the policy was about environmental protection and resource conservation. Functionally, it restricted global supply, drove up prices, and forced foreign manufacturers to relocate production to China if they wanted stable access. Between 2009 and 2011, dysprosium prices increased by 2,000%. Not a typo, 2,000%. The American response, or lack thereof. In 2010, the United States had one remaining rare earth mine, Mountain Pass in California. It had been the world's leading rare earth producer in the 1980s and 90s, but it couldn't compete with Chinese prices. It filed for bankruptcy in 2002. When China imposed export quotas in 2009, Mountain Pass reopened. But here's the problem. The mine could produce ore, but the United States had no separation or refining capacity. The ore had to be shipped to China for processing. America was mining its own rare earths and sending them to China to be turned into usable materials. By 2015, China controlled 95% of global rare earth production and 100% of heavy rare earth refining capacity. Dysprosium, terbium, europium, the elements that matter most for high-tech applications, were entirely dependent on Chinese supply chains. Rehook. And now, China has found a deposit that makes every previous reserve estimate look like a rounding error. But the deposit itself isn't the weapon. What China built around it is. And that's what we need to talk about next. Why mining isn't the bottleneck. Here's what most people get wrong about rare earths. The name is misleading. Rare earth elements aren't actually rare. Cerium is more abundant in the Earth's crust than copper. Neodymium is more common than lead. Even dysprosium, the rarest of the commercially important rare earths, is more abundant than silver. The problem isn't scarcity. It's separation. Rare earth elements don't exist in pure form. They're mixed together in ore deposits, chemically similar and extraordinarily difficult to separate. Imagine trying to separate 17 different types of sugar that all look identical, taste identical, and dissolve identically. That's the rare earth separation problem, the chemical gauntlet. The standard separation process is called solvent extraction. You dissolve the ore in acid. You add a solvent that preferentially binds to one element over the others. You extract that element. You repeat, for every single element. In sequence, the process requires hundreds of stages. Each stage uses liters of chemical solvents. Each stage generates waste. A single ton of rare earth produces approximately 2,000 tons of toxic waste tailings. China built this capacity at scale. As of 2024, China operates 87% of global rare earth refining capacity. The United States operates one pilot-scale facility in Texas. Europe has 2 small plants. Japan has 1. The rest of the world combined processes less rare earth material in a year than a single Chinese facility processes in a month. The 10-year gap. Let's say the United States decided today to build a fully independent rare earth supply chain. Mine, refine, manufacture magnets, produce motors. How long would it take? The mine itself, 5 to 7 years from discovery to production, assuming permitting goes smoothly. It rarely does. The refining facility, 7 to 10 years to design, permit, construct, and commission. You're not just building a chemical plant. You're building a chemical plant that handles radioactive materials. Rare earth ores often contain thorium and uranium, with waste streams that require specialized disposal. The magnet manufacturing, 3 to 5 years, assuming you can hire or train the workforce. Rare earth magnet production is not a commodity process. It's a specialized skill set that currently exists almost entirely in China and Japan. Total timeline, 10 to 15 years. And that's if everything goes right. If permitting delays, if environmental challenges arise, if workforce shortages hit, you're looking at 20 years. China has a 20-year head start, and they just found enough dysprosium to keep that lead for the next century. If this is making you rethink everything you thought you knew about the green energy transition, hit that subscribe button. Because what I'm about to show you next is how China is using this monopoly right now, in ways most people never see. And it's not about export bans. It's far more sophisticated than that. 2010, the Japan incident. In September 2010, a Chinese fishing trawler collided with Japanese Coast Guard vessels near the disputed Senkaku Islands. Japan arrested the trawler captain. China responded by halting rare earth exports to Japan. Officially, there was no export ban. Unofficially, rare earth shipments to Japan stopped. Japanese manufacturers, heavily dependent on rare earth magnets for electronics and automotive production, faced immediate supply shortages. Japan released the captain within 2 weeks. China never acknowledged the export halt. No official policy was announced. No trade sanctions were declared. But the message was clear: rare earth access is a lever, and it can be pulled quietly. 2019, the trade war hint. During the US-China trade war, Chinese state media published an editorial titled, "Don't say we didn't warn you." The phrase is a specific diplomatic signal in Chinese foreign policy, historically used before military action. The editorial mentioned rare earths explicitly. Will rare earths become China's counterweapon? The answer is not far away. No export ban followed, but the signal was sent, and US defense contractors heard it. The F-35 fighter jet uses approximately 920 pounds of rare earth materials per aircraft. The Virginia-class submarine uses over 9,000 pounds. The US military is entirely dependent on Chinese rare earth supply chains for every advanced weapons system in the inventory. The magnet export restrictions, 2023 to 2024. In 2023, China announced export controls on rare earth magnet manufacturing technology. Not the magnets themselves, the technology to make them. The furnaces, the sintering equipment, the coating processes. If you wanted to build a rare earth magnet factory outside China, you now needed Chinese government approval to buy the equipment. In August 2024, China restricted exports of antimony and gallium, 2 other critical minerals used in semiconductors and military applications. The pattern is clear. China isn't cutting off supply. It's controlling the choke points. And with the new dysprosium discovery, the choke point just became a noose. So what does America do? Because here's the thing. The United States isn't sitting still. There's a counter-strategy in motion right now. It's expensive. It's slow. And whether it works depends on a technology most people have never heard of. But if it succeeds, it could break China's monopoly entirely. And that's what we need to talk about next: the Defense Production Act. In 2022, The Biden administration invoked the Defense Production Act to fund rare earth mining and processing projects in the United States. $35 million went to MP Materials, the company operating the Mountain Pass mine in California. The goal? Build a domestic separation facility so the ore doesn't have to be shipped to China. As of 2024, the facility is under construction. Projected completion, 2025. Projected capacity, 1,000 tons of separated rare earth oxides per year. For context, China produces over 140,000 tons per year. It's a start. It's not a solution. The Australian partnership. Australia has the world's second-largest rare earth reserves. Lynas Corporation operates a mine in Western Australia and a processing facility in Malaysia. The U.S. Department of Defense has invested $120 million in a Lynas heavy rare earth separation plant in Texas. Projected completion, 2026. Projected capacity, 25 tons of dysprosium per year. Global demand is currently 1,200 tons per year and growing at 8% annually. The technology wildcard, direct extraction. Here's the part that could change everything. Researchers at Oak Ridge National Laboratory and the University of Pennsylvania are developing a technology called direct rare earth extraction. Instead of dissolving ore in acid and separating elements chemically, the process uses engineered proteins that bind selectively to specific rare earth elements. Think of it like a biological magnet that only attracts dysprosium and ignores everything else. If it works at scale, it could cut separation costs by 50 to 70%, reduce waste by 90%, and eliminate the need for the massive chemical plants that currently define rare earth refining. The technology is currently at pilot scale. Commercial deployment is projected for 2028 to 2030. If it succeeds, it could allow the United States and its allies to process rare earths economically without replicating China's entire industrial infrastructure. But here's the catch. Even if the technology works, it doesn't solve the mining problem. You still need ore. And the richest, most accessible deposits are in China. The recycling angle. There's another approach, urban mining. Every discarded smartphone contains approximately 0.03 grams of rare earth elements. Every scrapped electric vehicle contains 1 to 2 kilograms. Globally, electronic waste contains an estimated 300,000 tons of rare earth materials. The problem is extraction. Rare earths in finished products are even harder to separate than rare earths in ore. But companies like Apple and Tesla are investing in recycling technology. If recovery rates improve, recycling could supply 20 to 30% of demand by 2035. It's not enough to break the monopoly, but it's enough to reduce dependence. So here's the reality. China didn't just find $80 trillion worth of dysprosium. China spent 30 years building the infrastructure, the expertise, and the supply chains to turn that discovery into leverage. The deposit is valuable because China controls the refining. The refining is valuable because China controls the manufacturing. The manufacturing is valuable because the entire global economy is now dependent on technologies that require rare earth magnets. This isn't a resource war. It's a systems war. And the system China built is so deeply integrated into global supply chains that unwinding it would take decades and cost trillions. America's counter-strategy is real. The investments are happening. The technology is advancing. But the timeline is measured in decades, not years. And in the meantime, every electric vehicle, every wind turbine, every smartphone, and every advanced weapon system depends on a metal that one country controls. The $80 trillion discovery didn't create the problem. It made the problem impossible to ignore. If this changed how you think about the green energy transition and the future of global power, smash that like button and subscribe so you never miss what comes next. Now I want to hear from you in the comments. Do you think the United States can break China's rare earth monopoly, or is the 30-year head start too large to overcome? Drop your answer below, because I have a feeling this one's going to be controversial.